talking free agency once again here on the Cowboys Report. So from outside players, i.e. guys not being re-signed, so Jourdan Lewis, etc., guys like that don't count. Over or under 3.5 free agency signings by the Dallas Cowboys. I am picking a low number because it's the Cowboys. O for over, U for under. Sound off for me in the comments of today's show. First up on some free agency conversation is Nick Bolton, the Chiefs linebacker. Shout out Bryan Broaddus and to others, even in the comments too, that have advocated for the Cowboys signing the Chiefs linebacker. Now, of note, this was really more of something Broaddus had wished for on his show with Jeff Kavanaugh. Sports Illustrated, when they aggregated it, did not lay that out properly, claiming it was like an insider prediction. That's not what was happening. I do want to emphasize that part. But I am intrigued by the possibility of adding Bolton, who has been a very good player for the Chiefs over the course of his time in Kansas City. I like a lot of what he has to offer. I think as a run stopper, as a good football player, I thought played pretty well in the Super Bowl, by the way, helping take away Saquon Barkley. I think he helps this team. And he can slot in as an Eric Kendricks replacement. You don't know when you're going to get the Marvin Overshown back at some point, hopefully in 2025, but probably not in week 1. Reese Leafau, I still have hopes for long-term, but linebacker is an area of concern for the Cowboys. Even if Bolton's size doesn't fit how Matt Eberflus typically likes his linebackers, I do think he'd still fit with what Flus wants to do. And the biggest issue here is the money. We've talked about this. We know it's always the money. This is the PFF projected contract. 4 years, $15 million per year, $40 million guaranteed. Now, these SPO-Track projections, which are different but have some similarities, they just do average per year, by the way, is $12.3 million per year. Now, maybe that's 4 years, 5, 3, whatever. Either way, it's a lot of money you'd have to pay Nick Bolton for a team that is historically quite stingy when it comes to operating in free agency. So the pinned comment on today's show is this one. Would you sign Nick Bolton? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me with the pinned comment of today's show. The ad comes here on YouTube. Just fine. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. I like the idea of Nick Bolton. This is a guy I've been a fan of for many years. I like his play. I think he's a great run-stopping linebacker, which you still need in the NFL, and isn't a massive liability in coverage if he's not an elite coverage player. But Dallas has never given out the size of a contract that it will likely cost to pay Nick Bolton, whether it's the PFF $15 million per year price tag, the SPO-Track $12 million and change. All of that would be a record-setting deal for the Cowboys to an outside player in free agency from a per-year perspective. Now, granted, there's salary cap inflation going on. $13 million this year is not the same as $10 million to Brandon Carr all those years ago. And the Cowboys could pay Nick Bolton that if they wanted to. If they wanted Nick Bolton on this team, they could say, yep, we're going to make this work. We have the funds, the cash, the cap available. Their MO, though, has always been to find cheaper options. And as long as you're spending money elsewhere, as long as you're still trying to add talent, add an impact, I'm not opposed to that. And there is one much cheaper option we'll get to here in a little bit along the defensive line. But I do want to emphasize this part. This Cowboys team must spend more money on the open market. They have to add talent in free agency. Simply bringing back their guys is not going to get it done in the end. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can get up to 1,000 times your money on basketball and baseball. By the way, you can even get in on the Four Nations action if you want to as well. I always do the flex play. That way, no matter what, you can get one wrong and still come out on top. Riding my boy Jack, a lot of Rays baseball picks here. The Jourdan homers is a bit of a homer. Just never realized that's a pun, but it works anyway. I'm doing the flex play in case he gets one wrong. Go download the Prize Picks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Let's go to Poona Ford. PFF listing the big boy defensive lineman as the dream/perfect free agency signing for the Cowboys. Now, if you've watched the show for a long time now, this is not the first time we've mentioned Poona Ford. He has long been a favorite of the Fatties Only campaign. And I'm all in, F you, Jerry, on this idea. This is the exact type of realistic and feasible and good move for the Dallas Cowboys. Look at what this team has on the interior of the defensive line right now. They've got a bunch of veteran players, Linval Joseph, Carlos Watkins. I don't know if they're going to retain Osa Odigizua. Mozzie Smith is the one playable defensive lineman. I might be pushing playable a little bit there. I want him on this team because Poona Ford is a good football player. He does the dirty work. He does the run stopping. He's not a liability in pass protection. He is getting, or pass rush, I should say. He's not the youngest player at this time. He is getting up there in age. He's going to be 30 in November. But he is a starting caliber nose guard. Even with the better stuff we saw from Mozzie Smith, I'm not sure I want to call Mozzie a truly starting caliber nose guard quite yet. Hopefully that happens, and if that's the case, I've got two of them I can play. Now, if PFF's projected contract is right, 1 year, $3.5 million, do it day one. Lock him up, get it done. Now, Spotrac projects 6.6, and maybe that's your range of potential money. I think the 3.5 is probably a bit closer because he's always been viewed as a journeyman defense lineman. He's bounced around the past couple of years. But Poona Ford is the exact type of cost-controlled, impactful, solid nose guard this team needs to add this season. They need another nose guard option that's not Linval Joseph off the street in August. That's not good enough. Give me an actual starting caliber player. Whether I pay Osa or not, I also want to get a Poona Ford type on this team. So name a player who you want to sign in NFL free agency. I'll consider those names. We'll get to defensive targets. We'll also do ideal targets in the not-too-distant future. So give me those players you have in mind in the comments of today's show. Let's move to another one. Mike Hilton, the nickel corner from the Bengals. ESPN listing the Cowboys as the best fit for Hilton in NFL free agency. They also had Hilton ranked as their 34th overall player, which I'll be honest, as we get into, I think is a little bit rich for him. Here's what Matt Bone, who wrote the piece for ESPN, wrote. Cowboys according to Jourdan Lewis is scheduled free agency, which opens the door for Dallas to pursue Hilton. A slot defender who plays with urgency. Hilton had 12 tackles for loss last season. I like the fit in Dallas under new defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. In 8 seasons, Hilton has 13 interceptions, 11.5 sacks, and 34 pass breakups. Hilton is a good player, and he has been an awesome run defender. I mean, those numbers, 73 tackles, 12 TFLs, 5 PBUs, 84 tackles, 12 TFLs, 8 PBUs. Those are numbers of like a linebacker. Like he has been an awesome run support player coming in from the nickel. Jourdan Lewis, though, I thought was better last year. I thought the play we saw really the last couple games of 2023 and 2024 were the best we've seen from Jourdan Lewis after that devastating footage he was able to come back from. I would argue right now that I think Jourdan Lewis might be a better player at this point. I've got real concerns with Hilton's coverage regression that we saw this season. Now, who would you rather pay and have on your roster? MH for Mike Hilton, JL for Jourdan Lewis. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Even with ESPN listing Mike Hilton as the top fit for the Dallas Cowboys, I think Jourdan Lewis is a better option for them. Now, again, Mike Hilton is still a great run defender. That is what he does best. He is a really impactful piece in that area. I thought he regressed in coverage this year. There were times the Bengals pulled him off the field on third downs because they did not trust him to hang in coverage anymore. That's a huge red flag for me, given Mike Hilton's age. Jourdan Lewis, meanwhile, I think is coming off a career year. I thought he was awesome this season in coverage, in run support. He did a lot of really good things for the Cowboys. I also like what Jourdan Lewis adds to a locker room. I think that he got that dog in him. Not that Hilton doesn't, but I know it works well for Lewis with the Cowboys locker room. I think that's the type of guy I want to keep around. I want to keep on this roster. I also question, given the differences in projections and contracts and whatnot, if Lewis would be cheaper in the end than Mike Hilton. Now, we'll have more Cowboys free agency coverage for you all offseason long. Hopefully they do something. Hit that sub button right now so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. ESPN also projecting the Chiefs as the best fit for Zack Martin in NFL free agency. And look, it pains me deeply to say this. I think it is time to move on from Zack Martin. I think we have reached that point in his career with where he's at and with where the Dallas Cowboys are at. Martin again says he's not sure about his future, but hey, he's a free agent. When you don't know if you want to play, I think you know if you want to play or not, or at least it won't lead to the best results on the field. The injuries have mounted. There's no doubt about that. And frankly, Martin wasn't Martin in 2024. He was a liability at times. Now, I think the injuries were a factor in that, but remember, it's not exactly fair to expect a soon-to-be 35-year-old Zack Martin to suddenly be healthy again. That's not how it normally goes. So in the end, I want to go younger. I want to go cheaper because I don't know if there's going to be any drop-off at that point. And look, if Zack Martin can successfully ring chase, sweet. Happy for you. The same way I'll be happy and a little bit sad on the inside the way it was for DeMarcus Ware. This, to me, with where Zack Martin is, who I will always love, who is a Cowboys Hall of Famer, should be first ballot, this feels like Emmitt Smith in Arizona. That felt wrong, but the Cowboys were right to let him leave. I think you might be in a similar spot with Zack Martin.